So some things I want to address with you guys. We've been talking about last week after multiple respecting touches of our ascending triangle support line. We went ahead and broke on through it here last night. So this is not a bullish sign right here. This is something that you're going to have to go ahead and put in the camp of the bears. While we did have that flat top and we recently had a push up almost back up to 30,000 here just a couple of days ago, the bears were able not only to suppress us back down to support line, which was not surprising to me. I was not surprised. I actually predicted we were going to come back down here one more time. I am surprised, though, and I will admit that I did not think we were going to break that support level. We're sitting right back on multiple other support levels, but starting off with this yellow box. Let's go out to the 4-hour chart to see this. You guys can see this yellow box is something we've been talking about for a long time. I went ahead and extended it all the way over here because it looks like at this point, especially as we're starting to see when we pull up our oscillators, a lot of support coming back into these regions. This looks like a sideways trading channel that we're starting to slowly build here on Bitcoin, which for the moment will remain. I'm gonna go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt to the bulls still, that this is still bullish. I still believe that we can have a nice rally up into the Bitcoin conference. However, we're starting to get to territories where, yes, we're flashing oversold, but if we still move to the downside and we end up breaking below 27,000, I think you're going to have to give a lot of credit to the bears. I think they're going to pick up some momentum. And of course, we're going to have 25,200 sitting below us, but the question is, will that be enough to stop us? Right now, what we need the price to stay in is the region above 27,000. And then again, if it comes up and hits its head on 30,000 again, you know, we're kind of sitting here sideways. Last thing I'll pull up here, and then I want to throw it over to Piper so he can take a look at Ethereum. We're sitting right now where we're hovering below the point of control. But again, 27,000, it says 27,180 or so. That's going to be our value area low. Our value area high technically is up here towards 29,180. So again, overextended right now. I think that you can make two arguments. One, we're to the downside, so the bear's doing a good push. But as we're getting closer to this value area low, to this 12-hour dynamic reactor, we're also sitting on support. Could be an interesting entry point for a shorter term, maybe a scalp trade. Keep your eyes fixed on that. But that is the Bitcoin TA I have for you guys today.
All right, so taking a look at Ethereum, guys, where do you think we are back at again? Once again, as I've said numerous weeks in a row now, check it out. We're back in the platinum pocket. This weekend, we did have a nice little pump up here on Friday before dropping down. Once we dropped down, we did come up, retested that 887 right there at 1922, getting the rejection, and now we're back just sideways here in our beautiful platinum pocket that we've been in for a while. I do want to throw a couple of other things on here and show you what I'm looking at. We did have this head and shoulders pattern, guys, I had printed, and it closed out last week, okay? So this was invalidated, but this is good because had we not invalidated this and found the support right here down here, we would have been looking at a target based off of going from the top of the head here down to the bottom of the neckline here. We would have been looking at a 1550, so $1,550 Ethereum. We didn't hit that. That's a good thing. Let's go ahead though and take a look at where we actually bounced off of that at last week, and I'm gonna throw this up here. Let's throw on the market oracle and we'll show you a couple things here. So you can see here that this head and shoulders actually was the wick down for where we would have tested and broke. We got invalidated because we found support on this long running trend line here, running right along our dynamic reactor. So we got really good support running right here currently right now. So I'm not too concerned. I'm trying to wanting to see what's going to happen here as this trend line and this dynamic reactor comes into the platinum pocket over the next couple of days here. I'm looking at a 12-hour chart right now. So I'll be watching right here at this about 1830, 1825 range to see what kind of price action we're going to get there on that dynamic reactor. Will it be another catalyst like it was here and back here to send us up and push us out of this platinum pocket? We will see, but this week will definitely be running us into support, pushing in and wedging us out of this platinum pocket possibly, or potentially breaking it on a retest to come down. So
button yet. Let's go over to Cardano's screen here, Piper. And what I'm seeing here this morning, a lot of chaos going on. So let me move this for just a second. Here on the daily chart, you're actually seeing we just broke below where we had an order block here on the daily chart. But the hour chart, it's going to look confusing because I have this yellow box drawn, but we're sitting here right now finding support at the bottom of that order block for Cardano, as well as this hourly chart. We are seeing the flashes of oversold. So Cardano's kind of sitting on some nice support similar to Bitcoin. The thing that I am going to be taking an eye on, though, and I deleted it, but I'm going to pull it back up here in a second, is our Fibonacci levels. Again, come on, click for me here, computer. Sometimes, sometimes buttons don't like to click. That's just how that works. This daily chart dynamic reactor is sitting right at the golden pocket. The price of this for Cardano would be about 36 cents. And Cardano's been bleeding a little bit. Again, it's one of the coins that we talked about last week. It kind of is getting this descending level of resistance. We kind of had almost this descending triangle kind of formation going for Cardano. Again, not that I think it's going to play out fully and break down to potentially where it really could, all the way back down to these levels at 29 cents. It's definitely possible. I think that when you come to Cardano, though, you got to take TA. You got to know which TA things to look at with consistency. Formations, for example, do not usually hit with Cardano. I don't know about the rest of you, but I've seen so many times where we get a certain type of triangle or a certain type of wedge, or we get a head and shoulders or inverse head and shoulders, and we make these predictions about where Cardano's price is going. It ends up not following it. A lot of times what you're more looking at with Cardano is flat levels of support and resistance. We're looking for momentum to come in when the community just gets really, really hyper and really, really engaged. So what I'm looking at right here, even though we're currently sitting on some shorter timeline support, this longer timeline, this daily chart level right here, again, dynamic reactor for the daily chart, golden pocket here. If you were to go back to the dip we had back in March, that would put us around 36 cents, almost pretty much even right there for a good, strong level of support for Cardano. Once again, though, if Bitcoin bears start to take over, if we start to see Bitcoin dip, it's one of these things like I've been thinking about the best way to put this analogy, and maybe I've used this before, maybe I haven't, but imagine almost like have you guys ever gone to like Disney World or SeaWorld or something, and you see that one family that the parents are taking the kid on the leash, and the whole reason why that kid is on a leash is because that kid's pretty much a dog and cannot be controlled, but that leash allows the parent to have at least a little bit of control. There's times where that kid's lagging behind. There's times where that kid's running on ahead. Ultimately, mama or dada, whoever is sitting there holding the leash, they have full control. Well, the best way to think about it, especially with these larger cap altcoins, is Bitcoin's mommy or daddy. Bitcoin has control of the leash. These other cryptos, they can sometimes climb out a little bit ahead. They can sometimes fall a little bit behind, but ultimately they're going to respond in the same rough type of trajectory that Bitcoin is responding in. So if Bitcoin's going to move to the upside, altcoins go up. If Bitcoin's move to the downside, it's going to move to the downside. A bull market's where you start to see potentially a lot more space, and altcoins seem to get a lot more control. But for right now, the reason we're so emphatic about doing the Bitcoin TA daily is because it gives you an overall view of what the market wants to do in general. And so same thing here, as we're kind of sitting in a spot where we see Bitcoin. I'll go over to the Bitcoin chart. Where we're seeing Bitcoin get close to and starting to show signs of potentially having support, that's a good sign for the crypto space as a whole. But if the bears end up leading and the bears end up pushing Bitcoin to the downside, watch as things like Ethereum and Cardano and Litecoin and Atom and Matic and all these other things, they continue to move to the downside. But like I said, 4-hour chart here on Cardano, got a nice green candle coming in here. We had a nice long wick on the candle right before. So a lot of signs right here that we are bullish. I'm reading the chat as I'm doing this. CryptoSec guy says Tim needs a leash. Makes sense. Yeah, no, that's ultimately what happens. When I take Beamer on a walk, he's really walking me, is what happens there. He knows the plan. Let's take a look at a couple other coins here, though, this morning, because we got a couple minutes until the market opens. But XRP, let's take a look this morning at what is going on here. I'm down here on the 4-hour chart. We're getting a massive flash for oversold here in XRP, but that's a good thing. However, it took a little bit of a bath here. If we're going up to longer time frame, TA, we are in a falling wedge here for a while. That hard resistance, we talked about this before. Some of you guys might remember we talked about a 70-cent XRP. I think it's going to happen eventually, guys, but we ended up respecting that resistance level here at about 56 cents very, very well. That's our rejection point. Almost broke up to it a couple days ago, but then, of course, came back down. Right now, we're sitting on top. If I were to zoom in here, we're on top of that daily dynamic reactor. That is a positive sign. Let's take a look at some other things here, though, using our smart money concept bundles. We have order blocks down here, but that's not even what I want to look at. Let's turn off the order blocks and let's scroll down. And what I want to look at, let's start off with our multi-time frame support and resistance. Let's see what XRP is doing this morning. We're sitting right on top of one of our 4-hour levels. It's not necessarily the most significant one, but we are coming down to a support level there on the daily chart. Dynamic reactor right there. look at all the support down below us. Not that I think we're going to fall that far, but if, again, Bitcoin begins to fall and we see XRP begin to fall, there's a lot of support levels coming in down here. I'm actually very curious. Let me turn back on those order blocks and go down to a lower time frame, because you could very well see a good spot, a good entry point, especially with that lawsuit potentially coming to a close here very, very, very soon. Daily chart saying right here about 34 cents. Let's go to 4 hour and 1 hour though. About this a little lower, 27 cents on the 4 hour chart. Let's see what the hourly chart's telling us though. Is there anything closer? Not really. It's saying the closest one is about 38 cents. So when it comes to XRP, again, there are some signs that the support is coming in. Of course, this is another one that's been trading very emotionally right now. If we get an announcement today or tomorrow or the next day that lawsuit is over, we're just going to see a massive spike up. But if your guys are expecting a little bit of a dip in the market right now, if you're thinking that prices have a little bit lower to go, some of those levels down there towards 34 cents, 38 cents, somewhere in that region could be interesting spots to be picking up some more XRP.
Binance resumes Bitcoin withdrawals after halting transactions twice in 12 hours. So this was a pretty startling discovery here. This is why we have the thumbnail Bitcoin troubles, because there is some actual concern here, and we're gonna try to wade into the details here. So let's get into them. Binance resumed withdrawals on Bitcoin after Monday noon in Hong Kong, after temporarily halting the service twice within 12 hours due to what the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange said was a large volume of pending transactions. Where those transactions are coming from, we'll get to in just a second. But if you've been in crypto long enough, you've heard about the Lightning Network, and here is exactly what you would expect the headline to be: Binance to enable Bitcoin Lightning Network withdrawals. And then you can see here some of the details. Now at press time, the organization announced plans to introduce withdrawals via the Bitcoin Lightning Network. So,
wow, you made it to the end of the video. Great job. Now, if you want more content like this, whether it be TA on Bitcoin and Ethereum or altcoins, or you just want to stay up to date on the latest and greatest news in crypto, then stay tuned and tune in to our 9 a.m. live show every single weekday morning. It's 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And when you tune in live, use the keyword grip strength in the chat, and you'll get a special shout out from anyone who's paying attention to the chat. Love to see you there.